same car.
I just don't know, guys. I just don't know. Like, 6/10 is bad. What is going on, guys? It is JJ here, back with a new video, and today we're going to take a look at the weird fall of Daniel Ricciardo. Now, I have pretty much decided McLaren is going to be my team moving forward. I think the funny personalities of Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris, they make me want to root for the team. Plus, I think you guys specified to me McLaren is an American team. Which, is it really? There's no way it actually is. That Haas makes sense as an American team, but I swear McLaren is British. It's gotta be. But anyway, sorry, back to the original point. We're gonna take a look today at why Daniel Ricciardo just has not been working for McLaren. Lando Norris seemingly always seems to find himself in the top 10. Lando is the future of McLaren. Let me just put that forward. In the few months, I think 7 or 8 months now. No, it's not been 7 or 8 months. How many months of... Guys, we have been watching F1 since like late November. Still very new to the sport, but since I've been watching, it's evident to tell that Lando Norris is that guy. He's just waiting for that first Grand Prix title. He's just essentially waiting for that first single title. I think that will sort of bring it to the spotlight, to stamp his place on McLaren, because he doesn't actually have it yet. But anyway, we're going to take a look at why Daniel Ricciardo is not necessarily working driving alongside Lando Norris. I think the two of them will work out really well. It's just Daniel needs to play his part. So let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. Obviously, I think this is Drive 61, the YouTube channel. We will take a look at Tomo's one. He did like a 30-minute version of this. As well, we will be live stream watching Rush tomorrow. I think around, we'll probably say noon, barring any hangovers. We'll knock on wood for that. We'll probably be live streaming watching Rush. And because I won't be able to keep it up on YouTube, might as well just watch the live stream, just have it there for you guys. So let me know what you guys think about that idea. It's gonna happen either way. You guys will see the post. It'll be in the description below. But yeah, let's get into the video. As well, guys, you can obviously find the original video from Driver 61 in the description below. We're waking up. We're waking up slowly.
Danny Rick has been struggling this year on pace, consistency and overall results, and it's not helped by his teammate Lando outperforming that car this season. At the moment, Lando has 48 points to Daniel's 11, so Lando has brought in 82% of McLaren's points so far this season. Then there is qualifying pace. On average, Lando is 0.6 of a second quicker in the same car.
I just don't know, guys. I just don't know. Like, 6/10 is bad. Obviously, the percentage of points in Grand Prix are bad. But, like, you could use the same sort of examples with George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. But I don't think Lewis is a worse driver than George Russell. But, like, you could maybe say it's the car, the way that it's been. But Lando, even when he had, tonsillitis, was still finding a way.
So I looked into what's going on.
So I don't even know.
To understand that, we need to understand Ricciardo's driving style, because it will explain why he was so quick at Red Bull, but not so much at McLaren. Quickly though, I need to mention that Danny has had some great results, with several podiums and even a win back in Monza. But ultimately,
exactly,
one of the drivers with the worst records compared to their teammate, who is obviously working with the same tools. So really, it's the gap to Lando that's interesting here. So what is Daniel Ricciardo's driving style like? Well, I've broken down a number of driving styles on this channel, and really they are subtle points that allow the driver to get the car through the corner more quickly. For example, Hamilton is incredible on the brakes. He's able to get the car stopped well without losing time on exit. Vettel usually takes a more V'd-off line to rotate the car mid-corner, similar to Michael Schumacher. But all of these driving styles...
Really? Wait. That is info that I did not realize was available out there. So they're saying Vettel is more of a Michael Schumacher-esque driver. Lewis Hamilton is quick on the brakes, absolutely kills it through the corners. So that's... We might need to watch more Driver 61 videos on driver style, because, guys, I think my favorite driver style is Vettel's. I don't know why, but like going back and watching his Red Bull highlights, it's mesmerizing to me. It's absolutely mesmerizing to me. I don't know how he did it with that car. Like, it's like a perfect in-sync sort of timeline.
For example, Alonso back in 2005 and 2006 was driving a Renault with a really strong rear end and using tyres that were rock hard. so he induced understeer all the way into the corner, which heated the tyres and gave him the grip to pivot the car mid-corner and fire it out on the exit. But he isn't using that style this year, for example, as it would chew up the tyres and he would be pretty slow. But having said that, Danny was at his peak at Red Bull between 2014 and 2018. So let's have a look at his style from back then. The Red Bull was incredible aerodynamically, with more raw downforce than the other teams on the whole. But the Renault engine wasn't great, so they were comparatively quick in the corners but slower on the straights. But what made Danny great in that car was that it fit his style really well. Now, we know him as last
because he's a dive bomber,
really,
yeah.
That's only when overtaking. When Daniel was on a normal lap, he would actually brake a little bit earlier than most of the drivers. And that helps because you can keep the car more level, allowing Danny to turn in pretty aggressively and carry a high minimum speed through the corner. So a smoother braking phase kept the car flatter, which with the right car allows you to keep the aerodynamics working well throughout the corner. So Danny would set the car to be very stable on entry. He doesn't want the car moving around on the way into the corner. Speaking to Blake from Brake F1, who was a performance engineer at Red Bull for that time, Max didn't mind the car moving on entry, whereas Daniel didn't really like it. And this style also relies on having a car with great front end grip. Because Daniel isn't hard on the brakes through the corner, you have less weight on those front tyres and less weight pushing them into the ground. So the car can lean into understeer, which means
Okay, this is what gets me though, is that, think about it, the 2014-2018 car for Red Bull was known to not be at the level of those Mercedes, and maybe even of the Ferraris at that time. Maybe nobody was at the level of Mercedes at that time. But essentially, what you're saying is Daniel Ricciardo's best driving style was from a car that they knew was not a #1 car. And so that McLaren are sort of in that same boat, and he's not fitting that. Like, what team would even fit his driving style is my question. Like, what team would work with Daniel Ricciardo? Like, a return to Red Bull work for him? But it's not going to happen because Checo's staying.
This is the fastest qualifying lap at Monaco in 2018 between Daniel, who got pole, and Hamilton. You can see that the Merc is much, much quicker on the straights, but the minimum speed through the tight corners was where Daniel gained the time. So this is why Daniel got 7 of his 8 wins at Red Bull and was pretty much always on the pace with his teammate throughout that time. Then Daniel went to Renault, where it wasn't plain sailing. The car wasn't quick, but did have a similar overall setup to the Red Bull. Daniel has said in interviews that the car didn't have the grip of the Red Bull, but he could drive it in a similar way. Then skipping forward to when Daniel joined McLaren. And whilst he has driven 2 very different cars, the 2021 car and the 2022 car, Daniel has had similar issues with both.
Going to McLaren last year, it seemed almost as though Ricciardo couldn't get the car turned, couldn't get it rotated past the apex in the way that he wanted to. He was actually running out of road on the corner exit. So that would then lead us to think, that the 21 McLaren, in contrast to earlier Red Bulls, didn't rotate as well on the corners, which suggests that maybe it's a slightly weaker front axle, a more stable rear axle in contrast to the Red Bulls, which typically have a more loose rear axle.
So it seems that the McLaren has a really strong rear end, is good on the brakes but can understeer a little bit. And according to various interviews over the last 2 years, this has caused an issue for Daniel.
Because it's not his drive style at all. Okay, I get it now.
The Red Bull has a lot of front end grip, enabling Daniel to roll the car into the corner with a lot of speed without a lot of brake pressure. This then allows more weight over the rear of the car for a better exit. But as Scarbs mentioned, you can run out of road on the exit.
So that all kind of adds up, and some drivers were able to adapt to this and get it to work, and there was clearly circuits and days where it worked for Daniel. But on the whole, it seems as though the way that front axle worked doesn't really work for Daniel in the way he likes to rotate the car, particularly when he's doing these kind of classic overtaking moves where he just kind of straight lines to the apex and get it rotated at the apex while already in front of his rival.
And that is a good point. Overtakes are a different style altogether. You're not optimising for the highest minimum corner speed through a corner or the best run out of it. You're trying to get ahead of your opponent and block the ideal line, which allows you to get ahead. So the style is different there. But what is Lando doing differently? Well, he seems much happier with the car that is less stable on the brakes and with a little more understeer. One way to drive a car with a hint of understeer is to brake late and deep into the corner. This puts a lot of load on the front tyres all the way into the apex, but removes grip from the rear. This lower rear grip then allows you to pivot the car on the front axle through the corner, which then allows you...
So does that mean Vettel would be like the perfect partner at McLaren? Because isn't that how he described Sebastian Vettel's driving style, is to pivot on the corners through the axle?
Exit. In general, cars with a hint of...
We want Vettel at McLaren. No.
On the power.
I want Ricciardo to stay.
On the exit. And I looked back at a load of Lando's onboards from the last 2 years, and in general,
they look so sick, you know. The onboards look sick.
Understeer, which allows him to jump on the throttle on the way out of the corner. And that, to me, seems to be the difference here. Lando is natural in that car. It suits him, and he's happier with the car moving around. But Daniel doesn't have the confidence in it at the moment. And you can see this in qualifying at Monaco. Daniel is much less confident on the brakes, and you can see it here. On the way into the key braking zones, Daniel is lifting where Lando isn't. Now, there is likely some track progression here, but not nearly a second's worth. So Daniel really isn't confident in that car. But you could argue that Monaco is pretty
yeah, Monaco's maybe not the best
design
for that.
F1 track, Barcelona. Here, the gap is closer, but still 3/10 of a second. Lando is gaining the time in the slow speed corners, particularly those with a sharp change of direction. This again points at this issue of the car moving around on the brakes, and Daniel isn't handling this as well as Lando. Now, of course, Daniel has been working on changing his driving style.
That's what I was going to ask. That's what I was going to ask.
The car more mid-corner, but that's a tricky thing to do. So let's see if he does indeed manage to change it this season. You should check out this video.
That's the thing. I mean, also, great video, man. In terms of like actually technically going through every little bit of why Daniel Ricciardo's style hasn't worked, why it hasn't fit McLaren, why it worked elsewhere. Phenomenal. Great video. Deserves a like, by the way, guys. But okay, let me know what you guys think about Daniel Ricciardo's sort of stint in McLaren. I think he's just got to work it out. I think he's just got to get used to the car. I think he's got to be able to compete more in qualifying. Where Daniel Ricciardo is putting himself behind is in qualifying, and he gets to the races and he's just stuck in the DRS train in the middle of the pack, can't find his way out, and then he's screwed. Whereas Lando is putting himself at like P8, P7 in qualifying, and then finds his way up to P5 or sticks around that P7 mark. Like it's worked out for him really well. But okay, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I don't want Danny Rick to leave. I think he works well with Lando. But obviously, Zach Brown and McLaren are going to have different ideas. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching though. Peace.